I want to say something that's going to make some people uncomfortable. Self love is not going to change your life. I know, that's the opposite of what every wellness account, every therapist, every life coach tells you. Love yourself first, accept yourself. You are enough. And I'm not saying those things are wrong, I'm saying they're incomplete. And that incompleteness is keeping millions of women stuck. So today, I want to talk about the truth nobody wants to hear. You cannot love yourself into changing. And I'm going to explain exactly why and what actually works instead. First, let's talk about the overweight woman. She's been told her whole life that she needs to love her body before she can change it. Love yourself at every size. Accept where you are. Be grateful for your body. And she tries. She really tries. She stands in front of the mirror and says the affirmations. She follows the body positive accounts. She tells herself she's beautiful and worthy. And then she goes on to put her shoes on and her knees ache. And she walks up the stairs and she's out of breath. And she avoids the pool with her kids because she doesn't want to be seen in a bathing suit. And the self love she practiced in the mirror doesn't help her in those moments because her body is generally struggling. And no amount of affirmation changes that. Trust me, I know, I've spent decades here. Here's what nobody tells her: loving her body and wanting to change her body are not opposites, they can exist at the same time. You can love yourself and want to be healthier. You can accept yourself and want more energy, more strength, more physical freedom. Self love without action keeps you comfortable being uncomfortable. And comfortable being uncomfortable is just another way of staying stuck. Now let's talk about the stuck woman. She's been told she needs to love herself before she can change her life. You need to value yourself before you can set boundaries. You need to believe you're worthy before you can leave. You need to love yourself before you can stop people pleasing. And she understands this intellectually. She reads the books, she does the therapy, she builds her self worth, and then someone in her family calls needing money, especially children, again, and she gives it. And her partner dismisses her needs again, and she stays. And her boss takes advantage again, and she says nothing. Because self love in theory doesn't override nervous system responses in practice. She loves herself in the quiet of her room, but the moment someone pulls on her patterns, her nervous system takes over. And love doesn't live in the nervous system, survival does. So, what's the difference between self love and what actually works? The difference is self respect. Self love is a feeling, and feelings are inconsistent. They come and go, they're up and down. They're strong in the mirror and weak in the moment of decision. Self respect is a standard, it's a line you draw and keep. It doesn't require you to feel good, it requires you to act in alignment with what you actually deserve. The overweight woman who transforms doesn't wait until she loves her body. She sets a standard. I'm going to show up for my body even when I don't feel like it, even when I don't love how I look, even when it's hard. The standard, that self respect, is what carries her through when the feeling of self love disappears, and it will disappear. Motivation always disappears. The stuck woman who transforms doesn't wait until she loves herself enough to set a boundary. She sets a standard. I am not going to be treated this way even anymore. Even when it scares me, even when people get angry, even when I feel guilty. That standard carries her through when the feeling of self worth wavers, because it will waver. Feelings always waver. But here's where it gets deeper. Standards alone aren't enough either, because here's what happens. The overweight woman sets the standard, she shows up for her workouts, she eats better, she's doing everything right, and then something happens. A bad week, a stressful event, a moment of exhaustion, and her nervous system says, this is too hard. Go back to what's familiar. And she quits. Not because she stopped loving herself, not because she abandoned her standard, but because her nervous system was never on board. The stuck woman sets the standard. She sets the boundary. She says no for the first time. And then her family gets angry, or her partner withdraws, or her boss makes things difficult. And her nervous system says, see, this is what happens when you choose yourself. People leave. Stay small, stay safe. And she collapses the boundary. Not because she stopped loving herself, not because she abandoned her standard, but because her nervous system was never retrained. This is the missing piece. You can have all the self love in the world, you can have all the standards in the world, but if your nervous system hasn't learned that change is safe, it will sabotage you every single time. And this is where the body work and the mind work have to happen together. For the overweight woman, every time she shows up for her body, every time she moves, even when she doesn't want to, every time she makes a better food choice, her nervous system gets evidence change is safe. Being smaller is safe. Being visible is safe. Over time, her nervous system stops fighting the weight loss because it's learned through experience, not affirmations, not self love, not standards alone, but through actual repeated evidence that change doesn't equal danger. For the stuck woman, every time she gets a boundary, holds it, and every time she chooses herself and survives the discomfort, every time she says no and the world doesn't end, her nervous system gets evidence. Choosing myself is safe. Setting boundaries doesn't mean abandonment. I can survive people being unhappy with me. Over time, her nervous system stops triggering the old patterns because it's learned through experience that she's safe choosing herself. So, how do you actually do this? Here's the why and the how. Why your nervous system fights change? Your brain is loyal to what kept you alive. Extra weight meant protection. People pleasing meant love. Staying small meant safety. Your brain is not broken, it's doing exactly what you learned to do. How you retrain it. You don't retrain your nervous system with affirmations. You retrain it with evidence. Small, repeated, consistent actions that prove to your brain, I'm safe doing this differently. For the overweight woman, start small. One workout, one better meal, one walk. Not because you love your body, because you respect it enough to do something different today. Notice what happens. Nothing crazy. Your body didn't break. The world didn't end. You did the thing and you're okay. That's evidence. And evidence is what your nervous system responds to. For the stuck woman, start small. One small boundary, one no, one moment of choosing yourself over someone else's comfort. Notice what happens. The discomfort is real, but you survived it. People might be upset, but you're still here, still okay. That's evidence, and slowly your nervous system learns I can choose myself and survive. And when you do both at the same time, when the overweight woman is building physical strength and retraining her nervous system to feel safe being visible, that's when the weight loss sticks. When the stuck woman is setting boundaries and moving her body to prove she can do hard things, that's when the patterns break. Because the body gives the mind evidence and the mind gives the body permission. They work together, they always have. We just keep trying to separate them. This is care in action. Not self love, not standards alone, not willpower. Evidence, repetition, mind and body working together until the nervous system finally believes I am safe being different. I am safe being smaller. I am safe choosing myself. That's transformation that sticks. Not for 30 days, not until life gets hard, forever, because your nervous system has finally learned a new truth. And nervous systems don't unlearn truths easily, as you know. If you're the overweight woman who's been trying to love herself into changing, stop waiting to feel ready. Start rebuilding. If you're the stuck woman who's been trying to love herself enough to change her life, stop waiting to feel worthy. Start building evidence today. You don't need more self love. You need more evidence that you're safe being different. And that is what Care in Action is built on. Links to Kick Ash coaching and therapy in the description below. Because wherever you're starting with your body or your mind, I'm here.